Alright guys, TacticalRab here today with part 2 of the Q&A. I did part 1 last Saturday. Today we're going to be cracking on with the second half. I've already recorded this, so this is just like an intro, so it's not going to match up perfectly, but the shirt should still be the same as far as I remember. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Like if you do, subscribe if you're new as always. Thank you guys so much for 10k, of course. Didn't expect to be reaching this milestone, especially as quickly as I have done. And yeah, the support on the videos is always fantastic. The daily upload streak hopefully has continued over the past week. And yeah, a bit busy this weekend, but hopefully I can still get some videos out from time to time. So hope you guys enjoy. Hopefully I get through your questions, and let's get right on in with it. Akib asks, what would your dream job be? Something in Call of Duty or completely different? Definitely something in esports, not necessarily Call of Duty. I don't know. I mean, I like Call of Duty obviously, but it's maybe not the biggest esports. So in terms of dream job, I guess I'd like to be a little bit higher up, I don't know. Something in esports to do with management or, marketing or something like that would be a lot of fun. I'm not sure anyone asked me this, but I'll just put it in anyway. From July this summer, I'm going to be working for Intel in their digital marketing, effectively, sector for an entire year. So it's going to be difficult to make as many videos as I have been. Definitely won't be able to daily upload. So that's why I've been trying to do as much as I can lately. But yeah, hopefully Intel, working with them, of course, they've got partners all over esports. That will hopefully help me get into esports to some degree after I do that placement, because that's in my university course. I'm in second year now. After second year finishes in a couple of months, I'll then work for a whole year and then I come back to complete my degree. The best team in the game got to be LG right now on current form. 100 Thieves definitely deserve a shout. Of course, guys like Opta Gaming could potentially be the best team in the game if they played to the best level, but I guess you could say the same about a few teams right now. 100 Thieves could have been right up there, but I don't think anyone would have got past LG. Carlos Sanchez asks whether Splice will make a roster change. I don't think so, to be honest, at the current time. I think they're too good of a team. I think Accuracy was playing better at Fort Worth as well. Even though they haven't been doing so good in the league, it's been kind of a historic thing that sometimes teams don't do as well in the league, but they really perform at events. And I think Splice are one of those teams, LG as well to some degree, especially we even saw it last year. I really don't know how to pronounce this name. Do I think Den's brought down the team so much? I don't really think he brought down the team. I just don't think he's anywhere near as good in that SMG role as Dylan is. I think obviously Dylan's performance helped the team dramatically, really helped their pacing, having that Dylan and Zed SMG duo that Den's really wasn't able to provide. Poncho or Nelas asks, how old am I? So I'm 19, I'm coming on 20 in a couple of months, and yeah, I'm a full-time student, I guess. Light Grub says, do you see yourself making YouTube your full-time job? Who's the best player in COD history? I'm going to go with Crim6 on the GOAT, I guess you could say. And no way YouTube's going to be my full-time job. It's just been really helpful in, supporting my studies. It's not the plan by any means. I don't think there's an infinite potential growth rate here on YouTube, especially this kind of content. But, I really appreciate all your guys' comments and support. Adam Brook asks whether 100 Thieves will win an event soon. I really think they have a good chance. Of course, they've got London and, well, Anaheim after that can be the events they potentially win. I don't think they need to change their roster at the current time. I think Crowder's probably doing a fantastic job as coach. I think they've got to be right up there as the favourites for the next couple of events. James asks whether some teams should start running a Rampart and a Maddox rather than two Maddoxes. It depends on the map, I think, and it depends on the player, because the Rampart is not an easy gun to use. You have to be very static with it. It's FMJ2 is arguably the strongest point of it, but it depends on the map and it depends on the individual player. Definitely can be handy, but I think the Maddox overall is a better gun. Charlie Jarvis asks, do you think we've seen E6 and Reciprocity true potential, or can they be one of the main teams competing? I think the E6 should continue to get better. I think their top 6 to some degree flattered them a little bit. Their win against Reciprocity was, well, impressive, but I think it's just a classic Reciprocity where they don't always play to how good they can. I remember when they lost 3-0 to Divine way back at the Pro League qualifier. So I think Reciprocity's true potential probably has been shown. I don't think they can get much better than they perform there. Enigma 6 could get better if Frosty continues to improve, but I think Reciprocity will struggle to get above top 3 again, and I don't think E6 realistically are going to be better than top 6. Mikey Spear, with franchising around the corner, do you see full EU APAC based rosters being picked apart to take all their tier 1s and surround them with better NA players? Also, with franchising, do you see the end of AMP players coming out of nowhere and making huge waves in the pro scene? I definitely think this is a worry. I think that the whole idea of an APAC super team is not going to happen anymore. If you're a good APAC player, if you're a Dens, if you're a Shox, if you're a Luca potentially, if you're a fighter, you're just going to get picked up by a North American team and get surrounded by all the other talent. It's going to be difficult to find a national roster apart from the guys maybe in Europe, because I'm pretty sure Red Reserve and Reciprocity are good enough to maintain that national status. That is one of my worries with franchising. It's going to be pretty much impossible to see an event that we saw at Atlanta back in Infinite Warfare when E United come out of nowhere. No one's really ever heard of them. They go on and win the tournament. That's really not going to happen anymore. Amateur players will have a much harder time working their way up through the challengers side of things. I don't like it overall. Tom Sully asks, do you play any other video games outside of Call of Duty, and do I support a football team? Outside of COD, not really. I played a fair bit of CS, and I really enjoy CS, but I don't play it too much. I don't really have too much time to play it. Usually I just play Call of Duty in the evenings, and don't really have too much time for much else. Do I support a football team? Technically, I'm still a Manchester United fan. I know I was a Manchester United fan a fair bit when I was a kid, but I don't really, I just watch football kind of for enjoyment. If there's a football team I actually support, it's like just England, really. Apex Gamer, do you think that the new roster change rules in the Black Ops 4 season has hurt teams of players? Now there's pretty much no limit to any changes an organisation wants to make. Definitely think it's hurt players to some degree. I think that players that have earned their spot should not be able to just be dropped before they play a single game, such as the situation with 100 Thieves, of course, putting Pharaoh on the bench, and, UAU getting Spoof on the bench. Unfortunately, that's just the rule as it is. Nothing you can do about that. Nothing you can really blame the orgs about. It's just the situation, and I don't like it overall. With franchising, it kind of makes more sense, but this season I think it was premature. Sam also, my favourite roster change move from 4v4 to 5v5 probably has to be the addition of Hook onto that Envy team. I really liked this team when they won champs. Of course, I was talking about Aches, and the fact that Hook has been able to go onto that team set them up nicely for success. Haven't seen it so far in Black Ops 4 though. Maybe they can still compete, but well, I'm hoping so. Darren Dunning says the following, kind of already answered this question, but just to flip this on its head slightly, given his what he suggests I do. So no two players from the same team on my dream team, and players who have never teamed with each other before. I'd probably switch out then Crimsix on the team for Octane, and I think the rest of it is fine, right? If we have Hoot, Gunless, Dashi, Priester, and Octane, I don't think those guys have teamed together before. So I think that would be okay, and yeah, thanks for all the support. MJ Star 84, personally I prefer the current meta. I really like the Rampart in play. I hope it doesn't get Gentleman's Agreemented, because yeah, I pretty much enjoy having like a full gun meta, right? The Sorg is a fun gun to use, the Malox is pretty good, it's not too OP when the Rampart's in the game, and the ICR's fun as well. I didn't really like the Vegas meta particularly. Well, I didn't really like the fact that the Tempest was so good at Vegas. Jeffrey Anderson, do you think COD will ever implement a CSGO type competitive feature such as pauses, timeouts, save progress? I wish it did, but the problem is with the game being released every single year, I don't think this is realistic in the near future. If COD was released every 5 years or every 3 years, by the second year they may have time to implement something like this, but I really don't think it's likely. Matt M asks, who's my favourite player of all time and my favourite current player? I'd probably say Zed as my favourite current player, and then as all time, Jesus, I don't know, maybe a guy like Aches in terms of his history and what he's done for the game in terms of sparking the rivalries and that. I always have a soft spot for him and want him to do well. Ben Hawkins, would I look to do tip type videos? Now this is something that I would kind of like to do, and it's something that, I've done some gameplay breakdowns here and there. The problem is that the videos on the news and that, they always do better than tip type videos, and they take a lot of time to put together. And, unfortunately, in the current state of affairs, my normal daily routine is that I'll get up pretty damn early. This is on a normal university day. Get up at like 7:30 to 8. I'll make a video, super groggy, just as I've got out of bed. Then as it's rendering, I'll have a shower. Then I'll go to uni for most of the day, come back in the evening, do some work maybe, and then, play Call of Duty in the evening. So it's tough to find extra time to put together some kind of tip video. So in the near future, I don't think it's really plausible. Maybe over Easter or something, we can put something together. But if there's so much news going on, then I'm not really incentivized to try and do the tip type videos, especially when they don't do anywhere near as well as your average news one. But yeah, it's definitely something I'll consider. Omar Cabello, have you ever thought about going pro? It never really crossed my mind. Back in Black Ops 3, we did have a team going on. It was me, Kieran, this guy called Tremor, and of course Sebalicious. And yeah, so we played a lot of Black Ops 3 tournaments, and we were scrimming a lot. We were just trying to improve. It was just a fun time over the Black Ops 3 summer season before Infinite Warfare came out. Never thought about going pro or anything, just enjoyed it for trying to improve in the challenge of it. Barnaby Scuds, if you had to take any 3 modes from COD, which 3 would you choose to make your ideal competitive COD? Hardpoint and Search and Destroy are a must. I think Hardpoint is the best game mode we have from a viewer perspective, also from an excitement perspective, how competitive it is. Search and Destroy is a great mode. In Ghost it was the best mode by far, but the problem is that with the higher time to kill you have lately, and the more players on the map and the higher health, you tend to have this situation where it's just flooding. Search and Destroy isn't as good, but it's still a staple of Call of Duty. As for the third game mode, I think it depends on the game. I think Uplink was very good. I think CTF was very good. I would leave it at 3 game modes overall for the viewer perspective. I didn't like how Black Ops 4 was 4 game modes. I think it should be exactly how it is now, with 2 hardpoints, 2 Search and Destroys, and then a swing game mode in the middle. I think that probably Uplink has been my favourite overall. I think Uplink Black Ops 3 was a lot of fun, but definitely Specialist to some degree ruined it in Afterburner. So I think overall for a boots on the ground game, Capture the Flag may be my favourite if it was Black Ops 2 CTF and the maps were designed very well for it. El Lobos, 3 favourite CODs in multiplayer perspective. I'm gonna say Black Ops 3, Black Ops 2, Black Ops 1. Treyarch fanboy. Jamie Lewis. I definitely have a favourite team, I guess, in Reciprocity. I try not to be, I still support a team. Reciprocity, Red Reserve, whoever's playing from Europe generally and the UK particularly, I tend to support. My favourite core roster to watch? Probably the Nieuwland guys of last year, to be honest. They were super exciting, names that you hadn't really heard too much about. Maybe even I could say the Hypergames team from way back in the day of Quicker, Nolson, Zed and Brain. Those guys were super fun to watch online especially. So yeah, some of those European teams with names that you kind of don't expect to be good, but they're beaming people. Mohammed Tanweer, do you think the Sorg meta will change anytime soon? Not really. I think that generally as the game goes on, the game tends to be played quicker and quicker, so I think the Sorgs may come a little bit more into prominence. Right now we're seeing 1 or 2. Towards the end of the year, you'll probably see 2 a little bit more consistently. I don't think it's going to change that much, so I think the game is pretty solid meta as it is. Keegan Hamilton, what in-game sensitivity do you play on? So I play on 5.5 with 0.75 ADS sensitivity. I'm pretty sure it's the same as what Zero and Scraps play on. It's definitely slower than average, pretty much as slow as I think you can realistically get away with. Way back in Black Ops 3 when I was talking about that team a second ago, I used to use an AR and at that point I was turning my sensitivity down a little bit and I've kind of kept up with it. I think the 5.75 you can get away with, but most pros would play one higher than that. Vincent De Candido, the ICR role, will it get more important? I honestly don't think so. I think it'll stay roughly the same. I think the meta's kind of set in stone here. And yeah, the ICR role is generally just to hold down lanes and try and pepper people up and get streaks as a result of that. Octane does a very good job. I think a lot of people are going to be watching what his VODs are looking like, so maybe you can be very impactful with the ICR after all, but Octane's really the only player doing it to a perfect level right now. Parzelion's also up there. Mr. Daniels asks, if you could be on a current team, which would it be and why? If I could be on a current team as like a content creator or something, it would probably be Reciprocity because the personalities on that team are super cool. Reciprocity, of course, they got a team house. Like, they'd fly me out to, the States. I'd live in their team house in Vegas or whatever if I was doing content or whatever for them. That's what I would choose as a team to be on in terms of a content creator or being in a different role other than, a player. If I could be on a team in terms of a player, I talked about maybe it would be like an Envy or something to play with a guy like Aches. I think that would be cool. I also think Reciprocity has got to be one I'd consider to be on in terms of a team. I think Tommy is probably one of the best mentors you can possibly have. I remember watching his stream a lot back in Infinite Warfare when he was playing Subscriber 8s, and he was always incredibly good at telling people, just to push out or not to push out, and, really a good understanding of the game. So it'd be really interesting to play on that team. Of course, I'm nowhere near good enough, but hypothetically. Alex Risings, my first Call of Duty title was way back in Black Ops 1. Mr. Daniels again, who do you think the COD burner is? Or do you think it's someone from the European scene? I don't think it's anyone from the European scene because, he or she has been around since kind of April last year. And a lot of the times talking about the NA side of things, the E-United intel has always been super, super good. Who do I think the COD burner is? The pros apparently know who he is, and I'm incredibly inclined to say that there's no way that they can be getting away with this without some kind of insider input. I find it difficult to believe that a year on from when the COD burners come around, that he's still managing to extract this intel from players somehow without them seemingly knowing. So there's no way, I'm not really a conspiracy guy, but I feel like there's people on the inside that are aware this is going on and are somewhat doing it, arguably to keep the scene spicy and keep the fans entertained to some degree. I don't know if that's any sort of motivation, but definitely is a situation that crossed my mind from time to time. In terms of who the COD burner is, I feel like it's got to be someone close to United. A lot of people would suggest Burns because, Burns. I don't know if I can see that. I don't know too much about Burns as a personality, whether that could be the case, but I feel like it can't be someone that people don't know who it is. It's got to be a name that at least has been around in the community for a little bit for all the pros to be in contact with this guy. And as I say, it's probably someone close to United, so I don't know. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I should have got through every single question. A couple of them I will have missed out because I also got answered a similar question before. Maybe I missed a couple, but if I did miss any, then, well, hopefully we'll do a Q&A a little bit further down the line. Maybe a few thousand more subs, maybe a few months more down the line. Before the video ends, quick shout out to my boy Noah. He's balling out of control at General Electric right now, so big respect. Wouldn't be possible without him. And yeah, now it's time to conclude the video. So like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new as always. Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I will see you next time.